The night I found my granddaughter sleeping on a bare mattress in the attic, with a box fan pointed at her face, and a towel stuffed under the door to block the heat. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said, "Grandpa, did I do something wrong? Is that why I have to stay up here?" I didn't answer her right away. I couldn't. There was something stuck in my throat that I hadn't felt since the day I buried my wife 12 years ago. I just sat down on that thin mattress beside her and pulled her close, and I felt how warm her skin was. Not warm like a healthy kid, warm like a kid who'd been sitting in a room with no AC in an Ohio August. And I thought, this ends tonight. Her name is Lily. She's 9 years old. She has a congenital heart condition that's been managed since she was born. But managed doesn't mean easy. It means medication twice a day, regular cardiology appointments in Columbus, no extreme heat, no extreme cold, and absolutely no stress on her little body. Her pediatric cardiologist, Dr. Okonkwo, had written it down plainly enough that even a first grader could understand it. Apparently my son's wife could not. Let me back up. My son's name is Tim. He's 36, works as a regional logistics coordinator for a distribution company based out of Cincinnati. Good job, decent salary, travels Monday through Thursday most weeks. He met his wife. I'll call her my daughter-in-law because that's what she legally became, even if she never acted like family, about 4 years ago at a work event. Her name is Brenda. She had 2 kids from her previous marriage, both boys, 8 and 10 at the time they got married. I want to be fair here. I tried to like Brenda. I genuinely tried. She was polished. She knew the right things to say at the right times. And she made Tim happy in those early months, in a way I hadn't seen since before his own divorce from Lily's mother. Lily's mother, my ex-daughter-in-law Cassie, had moved to Phoenix 3 years prior for work and, I'll be honest, for a relationship that didn't last. The custody arrangement was that Lily lived primarily with Tim, and Cassie had her summers and holidays. That arrangement worked fine when it was just Tim and Lily. When Brenda moved in, then married Tim, then her boys moved in too, things changed. I started noticing small things. Lily mentioned that Brenda's boys, Connor and Aiden, had new bedroom sets. New. I'd seen the house, 4 bedrooms, nice colonial on a cul-de-sac in Westerville. When Lily told me she'd been moved out of her room so Aiden could have his own space, because he's older and needs privacy, Grandpa, I didn't make a big deal of it. Kids share rooms. Fine. She said she was sleeping on a pull-out couch in the office. I didn't love that, but I told myself it was temporary. That was in March. By June, I called Tim on a Sunday afternoon. He was home that weekend. I asked how Lily was doing, whether the sleeping arrangement had been sorted out. He said, "Yeah, Dad, she's got a space upstairs." I took that to mean the office situation had been resolved, that maybe they'd gotten her a proper bed somewhere. Tim sounded tired. He often sounded tired when I asked about Lily those days, in a way that made me feel like I was causing problems just by asking. I should have pushed harder. That's something I'll carry for a long time. It was a Wednesday in early August when I decided to stop by unannounced. I know that sounds like I was looking for trouble. I wasn't. I had a birthday card and a little telescope kit I'd found at a science museum gift shop. Lily had gotten interested in stars after watching a documentary with me in the spring. I figured I'd drop it off, maybe have dinner with her if Tim wasn't home. I knew he was in Cincinnati that week. I rang the bell. Brenda answered. She was pleasant enough, told me Lily was upstairs and that I was welcome to go on up. I think she assumed I'd just pop my head in, leave the gift, and go. I climbed the stairs, the first door on the right that had been Lily's room, the one she'd had since Tim bought the house. It had a nameplate on it now that said Aiden. Pink curtains, which had been Lily's, were gone. There was a gaming chair visible through the gap in the door. At the end of the hall there was a pull-down attic stair that I'd helped Tim install 3 summers ago for extra storage. It was down. I stood at the bottom and called up. "Lily, sweetheart, it's Grandpa." A pause. Then her little voice, slightly hoarse. "Grandpa?" I climbed up. The attic had been partially finished, drywall on 2 sides, plywood floor, a single bulb on a pull chain. It was hot. Not warm, not stuffy, genuinely hot. Ohio in August. Uninsulated attic, probably 90-something degrees in that space, even at 7 in the evening. There was a box fan in the single small vent window, a sleeping bag unzipped and laid flat as a mattress pad over a foam camping mat, and a laundry basket with her clothes folded inside. A small battery-powered lamp. Her stuffed rabbit, the gray one she'd had since she was 2, tucked against the wall. She was sitting cross-legged on that sleeping bag in a tank top and shorts, reading a library book, sweating. I stood there for a moment. I didn't trust my voice. She looked up at me with those eyes and said what she said. Did I do something wrong? Is that why I have to stay up here? I sat down next to her. I put my arm around her and I said, "No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong. You have never done anything wrong." "Brenda says I'm difficult," she said, matter of fact, the way 9-year-olds say devastating things. "She says I need too much special stuff and it's not fair to Connor and Aiden. The special stuff is her medication. Her dietary restrictions, nothing too high in sodium, no energy drinks or stimulants, limited vigorous activity in extreme heat, the quarterly echocardiograms, the medic alert bracelet she was supposed to wear that I noticed was not on her wrist. I asked her where it was. She looked down. Brenda said it was dramatic. I took a long, slow breath. Then I said, "Lily, how long have you been sleeping up here?" She thought about it the way kids do when they're counting back. "Since after the 4th of July. 5 weeks. My granddaughter, who has a heart condition and is not supposed to be exposed to extreme heat, had been sleeping in an attic in an Ohio summer for 5 weeks. I helped her gather her rabbit, her lamp, her library books, her medication, which I found in a grocery bag tucked under the eave because Brenda said the bottles in the bathroom cabinet looked messy, and I carried her down the attic stairs. Brenda was in the kitchen when we came down. She looked at the overnight bag I was putting together from the laundry basket, and her expression shifted from pleasant to careful. "She's coming home with me tonight," I said. "I don't think Tim would. I'll talk to Tim. Mr. Callahan. Brenda." I looked at her. I want to be clear that I didn't raise my voice. I'm 67 years old, and I have been through enough in my life to know that raised voices rarely accomplish anything. I just looked at her and said, "My granddaughter has a documented cardiac condition. She has been sleeping in a space that reached over 100 degrees during the day. She is not wearing her medic alert bracelet, and she asked me tonight if she did something wrong to deserve this. I am taking her with me. We will discuss the rest as a family." Brenda said nothing. I got Lily into my truck. I made sure the AC was on. I texted Tim from the driveway. Found Lily in the attic. Taking her to my place. "Call me when you can." He called me 40 minutes later. I was already back at my house in Delaware, Ohio. Lily showered, and in a clean set of pajamas I kept at my place, eating a bowl of cereal because she said she hadn't had dinner yet. Tim's first words were not what I expected. He said, "Dad, it's not as bad as it looks." I asked him to explain to me what it looked like, because from where I was sitting, it looked like his 9-year-old daughter with a heart condition had been sleeping in an attic, without climate control for more than a month. Silence on his end. Then, Brenda said she had the fan going. She said Lily liked having her own space. I asked him if he had been up there. Another silence. Longer. "Tim," I said, "had you been up to the attic?" "I got home Thursday nights, Dad. Had you been up there?" "No." That was a hard moment. Not because I didn't love my son. I do, fiercely, in the complicated way you love someone you raised and who has disappointed you, and who you still see as that gap-toothed kid learning to ride a bike in the driveway. But I felt something shift between us that night, something that would take a long time to repair. Because there's a version of I didn't know that's innocent, and there's a version that's a choice. Tim had been in that house Thursday through Sunday every week for 5 weeks. Lily was up a pull-down attic stair. He hadn't climbed it once. "I need you to listen to me carefully," I said. "Lily is staying with me. Tomorrow morning I'm calling Dr. Okonkwo's office to get her evaluated, because I don't know what 5 weeks in that heat did to her cardiovascular system. I'm also going to document what I saw in that attic tonight with photographs, which I should have done before I left, and I'm telling you now so there are no surprises. If the doctor tells me that her condition has been affected, I will be calling Child Protective Services. I'm not saying this to threaten you. I'm saying it because I need you to understand how serious this is." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'll talk to Brenda." "Don't talk to Brenda tonight," I said. "Come see your daughter tomorrow." He came on Friday. He sat at my kitchen table with Lily eating pancakes, and she showed him the telescope kit I'd given her, and explained how you could see the moons of Jupiter if the conditions were right, and I watched my son look at his little girl like he was seeing something he'd stopped seeing, like he'd gotten so used to managing Brenda's unhappiness that he'd stopped actually looking. Dr. Okonkwo's office was able to fit Lily in the following Tuesday. Her vitals were okay, slightly elevated blood pressure, which the doctor attributed to dehydration and environmental stress, but no acute cardiac event. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in a week. But Dr. Okonkwo was not casual about it. She sat with Tim and me both in that office, and spoke plainly about what prolonged heat exposure can do to a child with Lily's condition. And she documented the visit with a note in Lily's file, and a letter addressed to both parents, noting the health recommendations and the concern raised by the grandfather. She did not call CPS herself that day, but she told us that if she saw evidence of continued neglect of Lily's medical needs, she would be obligated to make that call. I made the call anyway. I'm not going to apologize for it. I took the photographs I'd gone back for, the attic setup, the grocery bag with medications, the foam mat, and I called the Franklin County CPS hotline that Thursday and reported what I'd seen. I gave them the dates, the documentation, Dr. Okonkwo's name. I told them Tim had not knowingly placed Lily there, but that he had failed to verify her living conditions for an extended period. I was honest about everything, including my own son's failure. That part was not easy. But Lily had asked me if she was bad, and there was no version of protecting my son from accountability that didn't also teach her that adults who fail children get to walk away clean. I wasn't willing to teach her that. The CPS investigation opened within the week. A caseworker came to Tim's house and to my home. Lily spoke with them, gently, with a child advocate present. She told them what she'd told me, that Brenda said she was dramatic, that her bracelet was taken away, that she'd been moved out of her room and then out of the office, and then up into the attic over a span of about 4 months. 4 months. I hadn't known about the office stage. That part came out in the investigation. Brenda's defense, and I am relaying this secondhand from Tim, was that Lily had options and chose the attic because she liked the privacy. She also claimed the attic was climate-controlled, which the CPS caseworker disproved by visiting during the day and measuring the temperature. She said the medication in the grocery bag was temporary because she was reorganizing the bathroom. Cassie, Lily's mother, flew in from Phoenix 2 days after I called her. She was on the phone with a family attorney before she landed. I don't have a complicated relationship with Cassie. We've always gotten along reasonably well, but I'd never seen her the way she was that week. Focused, immovable. She filed an emergency motion with the family court to modify the custody arrangement, citing the CPS investigation and Dr. Okonkwo's documentation. Tim did not contest it. I think that was the moment he finally let himself see clearly. He told me later that when his attorney laid out the timeline, the room, the office, the attic, the medication, the bracelet, and asked him what he knew, and when he knew it, he couldn't answer in a way that made him look like a father who'd been paying attention. Because he hadn't been. Not to Lily. He'd been managing his household's peace, which had meant, functionally, letting Brenda manage Lily out of the way. He filed for divorce in September. Brenda's attorney was aggressive. She went after Tim's salary, the house, his retirement contributions. Ohio is an equitable distribution state, which doesn't mean equal. It means the court considers factors like length of marriage, each party's contributions and circumstances. The marriage had been 3 years. Brenda had been working part-time, and had argued during that time that she couldn't work more because of the childcare demands. But the CPS findings complicated her position considerably, because it's difficult to argue you deserve marital assets based on your domestic contributions when there's documented evidence of how you treated one of the children in your care. She didn't get the house. Tim bought her out at a negotiated value below market. She got a modest settlement and walked away with less than she'd expected. Her own attorney, from what Tim's attorney relayed, had advised her early on to settle rather than risk a judge who'd seen the CPS report making more pointed decisions. Connor and Aiden's father, Brenda's ex-husband, had been fighting for increased custody for over a year. When the CPS investigation became part of the court record, his attorney moved quickly. By the time Brenda's divorce from Tim was finalized, a family court in Columbus had modified her custody arrangement with her boy's father too. She retained visitation every other weekend and 1 evening per week, but Connor and Aiden moved to their dad's home. I don't have any satisfaction in that part. Those boys didn't do anything wrong. They were kids in a house run by a woman who treated children as accessories. The ones she favored got decorated bedrooms and unlimited screen time, and the ones who were inconvenient got put away. I hope their father is giving them what they need. Lily moved back in with Tim in November, after the house and the divorce and the investigation had all been resolved. She has her room back. Tim painted it the color she picked, a pale green she called Frog Pond, which is very Lily. He comes home Thursday nights and he goes up and says goodnight. Every time. I know because she tells me. She stayed with me for most of those 3 months. I won't pretend I didn't love having her. We watched a lot of documentaries. We ordered pizza on Friday nights. I taught her to play rummy, which she took to with an alarming competitive streak that I suspect she got from me. We set up the telescope in the backyard, and on a clear night in September, she found Jupiter and sat there at the eyepiece for a long time, without saying anything. Then she said, "Grandpa, I can actually see it." I said, "I know, sweetheart." She looked up at me. I want to be an astronomer. And I thought about that attic. The box fan, the sweating, the grocery bag with her heart medication, the bracelet sitting in some bathroom drawer somewhere because it was dramatic. And I thought about the fact that this small, serious, extraordinary person had survived all of it, with her curiosity intact and her sense of wonder entirely undamaged. And I thought that whatever it cost me, the sleepless nights, the attorney I'd had to consult, the hard conversations with my son, the months of uncertainty, it was not even a fraction of what she deserved. "Then you'll be an astronomer," I said. She nodded, very matter-of-fact, the way she says things. And she went back to looking at the sky. "I've been a grandfather for 9 years. I've been a father for 36. I've been wrong about plenty of things in my life. But I was not wrong that Wednesday evening in August when I climbed those attic stairs and sat down on that camping mat next to my girl and told her she had done nothing wrong. Some things you just know.